before we get started, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, if you get this question wrong, I'm going to personally hunt you down. What country in the world has the worst diet? Pause the video, let me know, and replay the video. Now, the reason why I ask you that question is because the video I'm going to do today talks about different diets from all over the world. And I have these fascinating pictures that show the actual foods from these different countries. So I got these pictures originally from Time magazine, but they come from a book written by Peter Menzel and Faith Aloisio. I'm going to put a link over here in the video description to that article so you can see the pictures up close, and I'm also going to put a link over there to the Amazon.com where you can buy the book. I highly recommend it. It is such a cool book. It's a cookbook. It has recipes. It's a picture book. It has lots of different pictures, and it has a lot of good information too. And this book has won a lot of awards. It's won the 2006 James Beard Cookbook of the Year Award, the Splendid Table Book of the Year Award, the 2005 Harry Chapin Media Award, and it was a finalist for the 2006 IACP Cookbook Award. So it's a fascinating book. Check in the description for the links. Germany. Now, this German family, they spent about $500 US for 1 week of food. And look at the bottom of the picture. I want you to notice all the alcohol that they have on that table there, which is probably a considerable amount of their budget. But they have wine, they have beer, and so that's one thing to notice. And then also they have a pretty good amount of fruits and vegetables, lower fruits than the amount of vegetables, which is pretty good. And then also on that upper table closest to them, they have a pretty large amount of meats, dairy products, cheeses, the saturated fat foods. So that's real interesting. They don't have any Coke on their table. And then something else to realize too is that look real close, because they don't have a lot of processed foods on that table. They have maybe 10 to 15% of their entire week's worth of food is processed. Pretty much everything else is whole foods. Japan. Now here's a Japanese family. They spent about $317.25 for a week's worth of food. Now look at this picture at the bottom, because they have, to the left side, they have a little bit of fruits, and then at the top of the table they have some vegetables. So it's, it's a little bit here and there, not as much as some of the other families we're going to look at. Really notice how many fish that they have on that table. That's obviously their main source of protein. Japanese do have one of the longest longevities in the world. And then at the very bottom of the picture, they have lots of packaged items. And, it is an island, so they do have to import a lot of their foods. So a lot of things are going to be packaged. But really almost none of these packaged items are sugar type foods that would be common in the United States. They're more like seasonings, pastas, rice dishes, things like that. They do have a little bit of dessert in the corner, but it's very moderate, and then they only have 1 bottle of Coke. So, as far as their sugar consumption, it's very low, and they have a big emphasis on fish and seafood, which is fantastic. Italy. This family spent about $260 on their 1 week of food, and in the picture, look how many whole foods they have. This is awesome. Lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of whole grains, and you can actually look at the bread down there. None of it's in packages, so it was obviously made fresh. And I know that it's very common in Italian culture to stop by the market every time on your way home. And so there's markets really everywhere with fresh foods and breads and vegetables and things like that. So this is real common in Italy to have this many whole foods available. And then also they do have Cokes in the back of the picture, about 6 bottles of Coke. And I do notice that they have some Frosted Flakes. So, a little bit of Americanization into the family as far as high sugar processed foods. But for the most part, their fruit and vegetable consumption is awesome. It is so large, and I don't see hardly any meats or animal products, so their intake of saturated fat is also going to be low. Mexico. Look at the Mexican family here. The first thing to really point out is that they all are overweight. And then, after I just said that, notice how many Cokes are lined up against the wall in the back of the picture. So this is the first family that we've looked at that seems to have a high sugar diet just from the Cokes. They do seem to have a good majority of whole foods in their diet, fruits and vegetables. However, a lot of the fruits that they have are high sugar containing, so they have bananas, they have some of the tropical fruits, tomatoes, avocados, of course, which is common in the Mexican diet. They have breads, some candies on the table, some sugar cereal for the kids. All the people that we've looked at, they seem to be the least, health conscious as far as their diet goes. They're only spending $189 on the whole week's worth of food, which is pretty good for a family of 5. But at the same time, think about how much lower that could be if they had cut out all the Cokes that are lined up in the back, as well as some of the other foods we just mentioned. Poland. Now, this Polish family has spent about $151 on their week's worth of food, and they have about half processed foods, half whole foods. If you notice in the front part of the picture, they have some candy bars lined up, some M&Ms. They have some packaged and processed foods that are in their little pantry area. The back table, and it's kind of far away in the picture, so it's hard to really make out, but they have a lot of vegetables in their picture. Lots of carrots, cauliflower, broccoli, zucchini. I mean, that table is loaded with whole fruits, whole grains, whole fruits, whole vegetables. They do have one bottle of Coke in the picture, but one bottle for 6 people, that's in moderation compared to some of the other families that have more than one bottle per person per week. So overall, it looks pretty, balanced, except for the candy that's lined up in the front of the picture and some of the packaged foods that they have in their diet. Egypt. This family's diet consists of almost all whole foods. They have hardly anything packaged. I don't see anything processed. They only spent $68.53 for a family of 12. That is truly amazing in itself. But if you're looking at the picture, they have some water, they have 2 or 3 bottles of Coke, but for a family of 12, that's not an excess at all. But their fruits and vegetable consumption is really amazing. That's wonderful. And the back of the table, right in front of the family, is some red meats and some other animal products. But to know that they're cooking for 12 people in that family, the majority of their food is really just the fruits and vegetables, so that's awesome. Ecuador. This family of 9 has only spent $31.55 for their week's worth of food. And notice in the picture, none of them are overweight. Everything in their diet is 100% whole foods. Nothing is processed or packaged. They may or may not have access to that, but according to what they're eating now, it looks like the majority of their diet is vegetarian. I don't see any meats in the picture. They're probably getting the majority of their protein from beans and rice. But look at all the whole foods. I mean, that's just really amazing. And they only spent $31 US dollars for a family of 9. That's truly amazing too. Bhutan. This Bhutanese family spent only $5.03 for a family of 12. That entire diet right there is all whole foods. Nothing is processed. They don't hardly have any carbohydrates besides that big bag of rice. And it's just, they have a little bit of dairy, but everything is whole foods. That's just really amazing. None of them are overweight, obviously. And they do have a little bit of citrus, but it's really cool how the majority of their diet truly is fruits and vegetables. Chad. This family in Chad only spent $1.23 for 6 people. Now, it's obvious that they are malnourished. They're underweight. This food is not enough to accommodate a family of 6, but they obviously only have, limited access to certain foods. They're majority of protein is coming from beans and rice. They have a little bit of vegetables, but in this instance, it's obvious that they don't have enough quantity of food to feed their whole family. The United States. Look at this picture. This just makes me so sad. $341.98 for a family of 4. And look at everything that's processed. They've got pizza that was, from delivery. They have packaged chips and Cokes, not only 1 or 2 bottles of Coke, they have cases and cases of Cokes. Everything is either from a restaurant, it's packaged. I see 2 tomatoes, 1 little patch of red grapes, and that's I don't see anything else that's whole foods compared to all the other pictures that we've looked at. That's really sad. They do have a little bit of dairy. A lot of their vegetables are already canned, which are considered processed foods. So it's just really eye-opening to see that in comparison to the other countries. Now here's a bonus question. Out of all the pictures we've looked at, all the diets from the different countries, which one do you think is the best? So leave your comment. Let us know what you think, and keep subscribing, keep commenting, rate the video. We're going to be putting on a lot more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
For hundreds of great more videos like this one, check out the Psyche Truth channel on YouTube.